I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I wanted to give a shout out to Country Peddler. He does tool restoration, kind of like Scout Crafter. And I think he could use some other subscribers. Why don't you take a walk over and see what he's got going? I'll leave a link in the description. One of the things that I do here, well, pretty much everything that I do here, I video. Because you guys want to see what I'm up to. At least an hour or two a day of everything that I'm doing. Now obviously some of the stuff you're never going to see. Probably don't want to know. But to make that video happen for that hour, I used a lot of tools. One of the tools that I use is the Canon EOS 70D. That's the one that you're watching me on right now. It's on a big tripod made by Manfrotto, and it actually works pretty darn good. But I usually only use it down here in the shop. When I'm outside, it's a hazardous environment. I don't have a camera person. It's just me. And if I try and get the Canon up close so that I can do a shot like this one, without using the telephoto, then it gets right in the danger zone. I mean, I could come out and run into it, which I've done. I've knocked it over twice now. Now, this camera is a sizable portion of my yearly income. So I really don't want to damage it. To avoid that, I use this Nikon. And the Nikon is a nice little camera because it's inexpensive. 180 bucks was the price of it brand new. I bought this one on eBay for $52 with a battery charger and a spare set of batteries. So if I drop this one, I'll be unhappy because I like the camera. It works really well. But I do have two of them. So I'm not going to be out of cameras. At the same time, I use other devices like the Manfrotto tripod. I have this camera holder that I rigged up out of half-inch PVC pipe, some elbows, a floor flange. I got this mount for a GoPro off the discount shelf at Walmart. It was part of a package. You could buy all these little things. It cost me like $5 along with a bunch of other stuff. Something that I use quite frequently is this little tripod. I use this little tripod with a Nikon S8200 because it'll hold this little camera and it lets me get right up close. And it's got little extendable legs which will just barely hold it up in position. But it'll handle the S8200 because the S8200 doesn't weigh much. It also works quite well for holding the phone. Got a little clip that holds the phone and this will mount on top of that. The phone weighs even less than the 8200. So it gives me options. I even have my latest acquisition is this little Vivitar camera, and it's a GoPro knockoff. It's tiny and it's in a waterproof case, and it says it's capable of handling at a certain depth, which I'm not probably going to even monkey with trying it at that depth because I don't do much swimming anymore. But this is a DVR 786 HD. The thing I wanted it for is this is the cheapest camera that I own. If I'm going to put something in harm's way, it's going to be this one. 30 bucks replaces it. The issue that I have with this tripod, and you can see it's in pieces, is this leg broke. Now, these legs, and I'll use one of the ones that wasn't broken, these legs fit into that little central piece and spin around like that, and then they lock in. This gets bolted up inside the base of the tripod, the ball mount on the top of it, and that holds the leg in place and lets this pivot back and forth. It's actually very nice. It's inexpensive. It has an extension on the leg. Works quite well. But this gets rough handling.
I was carrying it in the camera bag, and I used this one going back and forth to work at Bentler. In that camera bag, it got banged up. When it got banged up, this part broke off. Now I've glued it back on with super glue, and I've done that twice now. I'm thinking that super glue isn't enough. It needs to have a little mechanical reinforcement. So I'm going to pin that. I'm going to take this little nail, and I'm going to take my hammer and drive it down through. No, taking a hammer and driving it down through there won't work. That would just be a silly thing to do. What I am going to do is I'm going to drill through the top down into the base. This nail is long enough, it'll go all the way down to the boss there and go down into the base of it, and it'll provide some structural reinforcement. Now the super glue is pretty strong, but I'm thinking if I put that pin in there, I'm going to probably increase it to the point where this one won't fail. To do that, I'm going to use this 043 drill bit. It's a number 57, and when I checked it with the calipers, this pin is 42, and this comes out to 43. So, a thousandths extra. I think this drill bit will probably wobble enough that I'll end up with a hole slightly larger, but we'll see. Now to put this down through the middle of that and do it in a straight line so that I'm not wobbling and wandering off, I don't want to do this by hand. So I'm going to chuck this up in the lathe, and I'm going to run this drill bit into the end of it. At least a little bit. I want to get a good start on this so that it's going straight in. I might end up doing this a different way, but I'm first going to try using the lathe. If the lathe doesn't work, I'll get out the Dremel tool and I'll put the chuck on it. We'll put this drill bit in the Dremel tool and we'll drill it with that. Because the problem with a small drill bit, especially one when you get down to 043, it needs to turn at a tremendous rate of speed. A 1/4 inch drill bit should be running 1200 RPMs. A 1/4 inch drill bit is 5 times, almost 6 times bigger than this. So this should run 6 times as fast as 1200 RPMs. So we'll do a little quick math in our head. 6 times 1000 is 6000. 6 times 200 is 1200. So about 7200 RPMs. My lathe won't go 7200 RPMs. I don't have a hand drill other than the Dremel that'll reach that speed. So we'll try this on the lathe and see what happens. This is a die cast piece, and I think it is zinc or maybe Zymac, combination of zinc and aluminum. So we'll have to see. So we'll go over to the lathe and we'll get set up over there. Now you guys have probably seen me doing the overhead shots on the lathe. I use this really high dollar rig that I've got up here. It's a piece of 1.5 by 3/4 pine with a 1/4 inch bolt in the bottom of it and a little cross piece in there so that I can tighten that 1/4 inch bolt up and make it so that it stays in position. I don't move it much. It just happens to be centered right over the top of the chuck. The camera covers the whole working area of the lathe, so just having it there, I don't need to move it much. This is my smallest chuck, and I'm hoping that it's going to go down far enough to catch this drill bit. There, it actually works. I need to put this in the chuck. Now, I could put it in the 4-jaw and hopefully get it centered up, but I don't think it's not going to be enough of an advantage to put it in the 4-jaw to make it worth all the trouble to get it to go into the 4-jaw. Now while I'm doing this, I've got the lathe unplugged. I don't want to accidentally bump the starter on the thing and have it come on and catch my fingers in it. I have to be really careful with this because it's a plastic barrel, and I could very easily screw this thing up so that it will not function ever again. Okay, I'm going to run the speed up on the lathe as fast as I can get it, which is not very fast. Okay, let's see what happens. Now if I bust the drill bit, I'm all done. That's the only 43 thousandths drill bit that I've got. Well, that's not working. I'm going to have to hit it with a center drill. And the smallest center drill I have is pretty darn big in relationship to a 43 thousandths drill bit. But at least it'll give me a dimple to work from. Now I have a starting point. Well, that actually was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. We'll put a little super glue on this thing. Now, this super glue is a gel type. It doesn't want to come out of that tube. Works really nice because it doesn't pour all over the place. But I do have to kind of manipulate it a bit to get it to go where I want it to. I take this and I put it down into that hole. Pull it out just a little bit, and I'm going to clip off the head. So I can set that down in there. Because this part rubs across this little washer. That's the bearing surface. You might be able to see the little spots where this thing rubs across it. So I need to have that nailed down below the surface. Okay, now I've got it glued. Now we do the thing that I have the most trouble with doing. I set it and forget it. Walk away. Well, that seems to be okay. Now we'll just have to see how it goes together. This clips into that and spins around like that. I think it has to flip that direction. I gotta clean that off a little bit. There we go. That's a full rotation. Check it against this one. And this one. Looks like we have a winner. Now we set this down in there. Once again, that's the bearing surface. Little vise was a gift from Ryan. Don't use it a lot, but when I do need it, it comes in real handy. Draw that down snug. And now I have a working tripod again. Maybe I need to get a little tube to slide this into. Piece of PVC pipe or something. Keep it protected. I don't know. We'll see what I can come up with.
Now the acid test. Well, holds the camera. I think that counts as a success. I think that counts as a success. I think that counts as a success. Now that was a lot of work for a little bitty thing, but I couldn't replace it. I couldn't find one. Didn't mean I didn't try. This was an attempt to replace it. And it works. I mean, it holds the camera. It's secure. It's just a little big. And you compare this one, which is a knockoff on the Gorilla, and you compare this one to this one fits in a shirt pocket right next to the camera. This one, you're not going to carry it in your shirt pocket. Maybe wrapped around your neck, but that's kind of awkward. That's a walkthrough of how I fixed my little camera tripod. I'm going to try not to break it again. It's also kind of a walkthrough of some of the camera equipment that I use. Most of it is fabricated. I have the Manfrotto and the EOS 70D that are obviously purchases, but the rest of it is pretty much stuff that I cobbled together. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Stop in tomorrow at the same time. We'll have another video. Thanks, guys. I have thousands of subscribers. All of you are great. The guys who comment, the guys who just come by and take a look. I appreciate every one of you. Now, I'm up to almost 9,000 subscribers. It's a big milestone. The big one, though, that's 10,000. When I get 10,000 subscribers, I get a whole new raft of things that I can do on YouTube. Seems like once you get 10,000, they actually realize that you're a person. Up until then, you're kind of a check mark in a box. You're a partner, but you're not really. Once I reach that number, I'll be able to do other stuff. So, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, click the button. Doesn't cost you a dime. And I promise I won't bug you about it. If you click the button and ring the bell, you'll know every time one of the videos comes up. If you don't click the bell, you'll still be a subscriber, and I get to check off that box. So let's do each other a favor.